Me and the girls are out. We're gonna do a little shed hunting slash primarily scouting trip. Haven't really done put in any work for deer hunting around home for the last 5, 6, 7 years. So now is the time. Gonna see if we can't find some decent spots and some old haunts so that I could get out and, you know, maybe do a little deer hunting on evenings or whatnot and not have to drive 3 hours to go do a little deer hunting in Iowa. So that's the plan. We'll see what we find. Kind of got the got Onyx downloaded last night, so we're getting pretty serious around here. This is it. We're gonna find some hot spots, maybe a shed. So I hunted this place like 10 years ago, killed my first trad deer here. But honestly, back then I probably didn't scout 50% of this thing. So right now we're just kind of trying to cover a bunch of ground, trying to stay on some pretty heavy trails. I think I've seen 2 rubs so far, but just getting started. So I don't know, I'm gonna try to just kind of get a feel for the whole place and kind of learn, you know, the whole layout instead of just what I was able to get to easy 10 years ago. Well, finally found our first really nice rub. Found a couple other pretty nice ones, but got one right here, and then just behind it here there's another one on this little knob. Well, I think we're gonna call it a day. The dogs are pretty well whooped. They go about 20 yards and then turn around to make sure that I'm still coming, so pretty big day for them. Well, pretty big day for me too, considering I haven't done much of squat since like last fall. So did about 4 hours, turned up a big goose egg on the sheds. Did find some nicer buck sign though, so maybe a couple of pretty solid spots and then a bunch of just iffers. So well, I'm thinking there's a pretty good chance we're going to be spending a little bit of time with a southwest wind in this tree right here. Got a nice creek crossing here, kind of comes up, heads out to corn. We got a little fork here, little intersection coming in from the marsh on this little berm, heavy trail there, and then we just have another trail coming along the creek, and then, you know, they're just kind of branching off heading up to this corn. So I mean, basically with a south wind, we're going to be blowing everything that way. And as long as they come here or here, should be as close to a lock as you can get. So I think that's probably the first legit stand location that's been selected. So I'm going to mark this one. I can see a couple of rubs heading out towards the marsh. I know there was some across the creek here too when I was here the other day. So I guess we're making progress. Let's get this sucker marked on Onyx. Well, I think this might be a wrap for the 22nd. A bunch of the stuff I was wanting to walk out in this marsh is underwater, like need a pair of waders to get to. So still at a big goose egg for sheds, but did mark a few trees for stands that look pretty decent. So we'll see. Gonna have to get back out, put a little more work in. All right, well, been at it an hour or two here maybe. Marked a couple of so-so trees. I've been kind of coming down this little, I don't know, it's kind of a little high spot with a bunch of little pockets in it. Got a marsh on both sides of me, so I mean it's fairly narrow, not real tight, but you know, you kept running into spots where you thought it was going to pinch down good and then it would open back up. So finally got onto this little creek crossing right over here. Where's it at? Right there. So got a nice little creek crossing there, and should be able to get up into that tree about right there. It's not a real big tree, but it's about 15 yards. So hopefully they're just coming through the thick stuff here and not paying a whole lot of attention to the 300-pounder in a 4x4 of a tree. But here's our, oh, there's Eva giving us a display on the crossing. I mean, I kind of decided to focus on this area because I knew it was thick. But I mean, like, it is just thick, like all around thick. So, I mean, I'm finding some trails and stuff still in a few spots, but like where I'm at now, I have no idea how I'm gonna get here through, you know, 400 yards of this thick stuff to a tree to hunt, to a spot. So I don't know, that's gonna be a big hurdle. I mean, really the only place to kind of walk is on the trails, which obviously that's not, you know, you don't want to enter on the trail that you're hunting. So I don't know, might not be able to get quite as deep. I don't know, might have to hunt a little closer to the edges and just hunt spots that have better accesses or entries. So I don't know, but she's thick, buddy. She's thick. All right, so this is kind of the final part of my little video, kind of walking you through how I went about scouting out this new piece of public property by my house. You know, I spent 3 days out just doing the boots on the ground stuff with the dogs, and while I was doing that, I was making a lot of, you know, just waypoints on my Onyx with little notes on them as to what I was marking. And now I've walked the piece of property to my satisfaction, and you know, found some decent looking spots, etc. But now what I'm going to do is I got the laptop here and I'm just going to go through all the waypoints that I had marked, kind of get everything labeled, maybe change the icons, color code, all that sort of stuff. Whether it's rubs, possible tree locations, where other hunters are located, or where I'd seen other hunter stands. And I'm hoping I'm going to be able to go and get all that stuff swapped around and kind of organized, and then I'll be able to look at the whole piece of property like as a whole, you know, kind of an overview, big picture type of deal. Maybe pick up some tips as to, you know, get a better idea where those other guys had their stands, or maybe pick up some tips on, you know, maybe how these deer are going to be moving through there. But I mean, other than that, I feel like I'm pretty much ready to hunt if need be tomorrow. That being said, I'm sure this summer I'll probably at least do some driving around, do a little glassing on fields around there just to get an idea, you know, what kind of deer might be around there, you know, how many deer, etc. Maybe get a trail camera out. But that pretty much wraps up this preseason scouting video for me.